All right, news in detail now. After nearly a week of deliberations, a jury and a handful of alternates have now been selected in Donald Trump's hush money trial. During proceedings on Friday, a man set himself on fire outside the courthouse. The authorities says he's a conspiracy theorist and don't believe that his actions were related to the former president. Opening statements in Trump's criminal trial could begin on Monday. DD India's William Denslow reports from New York.
During legal proceedings on Friday, the key issue that needed to be resolved was finding the 6 alternates to go along with the 12 members of the jury that were sworn in on Thursday. That has now been achieved, which means that, according to Judge Juan Machan, we could see opening statements in Donald Trump's criminal hush money case, his trial, to begin as early as Monday. Those opening statements will provide the first opportunity for the defense and the prosecution to try and convince the jury of Donald Trump's innocence or his guilt. For the prosecution, they'll be seeking to successfully accuse Donald Trump of paying hush money to the porn star Stormy Daniels ahead of the 2016 elections. For the defense, they will seek to argue that the $130,000 that Donald Trump paid to his fixer at the time, Michael Cohen, was a legitimate business, a legal expense. Donald Trump has pleaded not guilty to 34 counts of falsifying business records. Also to be established is Judge Machan will make rulings on what exactly people can ask Donald Trump if indeed he chooses to take the witness stand during this trial. There's also the matter of the gag order on Donald Trump. He says that it is unconstitutional. He says it is impacting his ability to defend himself and to politically campaign as he seeks re-election.
This is really a concerted witch hunt, very simple. Everything you heard in there, this is a witch hunt by numerous judges, Democrat judges. You take a look at it, and Doran is a whack job. What he did was a disgrace. It's being reviewed by the appellate division. And I hope they do justice because everybody's looking and no business is coming into the city.
For the prosecution, well, they argue that Donald Trump has been violating that gag order that essentially seeks to block him from attacking witnesses and during this trial. They've warned that such violations could result in Donald Trump even facing up to 30 days behind bars. Judge Juan Machan is expected to hold a hearing on that matter on Tuesday. William Denslow in New York reporting for DD India.
The lawmakers in the US House of Representatives are due to vote on Saturday for a series of long-awaited foreign aid bills that include funding for Ukraine, Israel and the Indo-Pacific. They could provide around $95 billion of US funding to allies if passed in the House and then Senate. DD India's Caroline Malone reports from Washington.
It's taken months to get here, but congressional lawmakers are on the verge of making progress on approving foreign aid packages after much debate and controversy. Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson got through a procedural vote formally on Friday, which opens up the aid bills for debate before voting to pass them. That's even though 55 members of the Republican Party, his own party, voted against it, including members of the far-right House Freedom Caucus, who have said they may also move to oust him from the Speaker role in protest of the bills. Well, Johnson was only able to get to the next stage with the support of the Democrats, who, in a highly unusual bipartisan move, actually gave 165 of their votes to the courts. Well, these bills come in 4 parts: $60 billion for Ukraine, $26 billion for Israel, $8 billion for the Indo-Pacific, that's largely to support Taiwan, and a wider national security bill that includes moves against Russia and China, such as on fentanyl, and insisting that Beijing divests its ownership of the social platform TikTok. Well, if the bills pass in the House, they're due to be voted on Saturday, they could then move on to the higher chamber as one complete bill. Senators are supposed to be in recess next week, but they could be called back to vote given the urgency of this funding. Caroline Malone in Washington, DD India.
Meanwhile, White House spokesperson Karine Jean-Pierre has said it has no comment on reports of Israeli attacks in Iran overnight.
And finally, I know there's a lot of interest in reports from the Middle East overnight, and we understand that, we get that. I'm going to say it now, though I know you all will certainly ask me about it, that we do not have any comment on the reports at this time. We have been very, very clear from here, from the beginning, that we do not want to see this conflict escalate. We continue to consult with our allies and partners, including in the region, obviously, and to reduce further risk of escalation.
And White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre said the United States would send shipments of arms to Ukraine right away if a funding request to help Ukraine repel Russian invaders is approved on Friday.
We have been clear since October, since we put forth the original, obviously, National Security Supplemental, how critical it was to get that Ukraine aid to the brave people of Ukraine who have been fighting to protect their democracy, fighting for their freedom, obviously. And so we've been saying it is critical, it is critical. They have been losing ground because of Congress inaction. But we are, and I'll add this, we are very grateful to see that the House is moving, to see that it is moving in a bipartisan way. We want to get that out of the House, obviously, out of the Senate, to the desk of this president, and he will sign it right away.
And the group of 7 foreign ministers on Friday urged all parties to work to prevent further escalation amid mounting fears that following Israel's reported attack on Iran, the G7 ministers said they would work to prevent conflict between Israel and Iran spiraling out of control while simultaneously seeking to end the conflict in Gaza. In a communique issued after 3 days of talks in Italy, the G7 ministers also said they are ready to adopt additional sanctions against Iran following its missile and drone attack on Israel last weekend. The leaders also acknowledged they had to do more to help Ukraine, which is struggling to hold off stronger Russian forces. All right, updates now on Russia-Ukraine conflict. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky told NATO members that Ukraine needed a minimum of 7 Patriot or other high-end air defense systems to counter Russian airstrikes on Friday, exhorting them to step up their military assistance for Kiev.
We are telling this directly to defend. We need 7 more Patriots or similar air defense systems. And it's a minimum number. They can save many lives and really change situation. You have such systems? Please, from the beginning of this year alone, a bit more than just 3 months, Ukraine has been hit with almost 1,200 Russian rockets, including air ballistic, and also more than 1,500 shaheeds. Part of this evil we managed to neutralize, shoot down, but only a part.
After a special meeting of allied defense ministers with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, NATO Chief Jens Stoltenberg said NATO allies agreed to provide Kiev with additional air defense systems.
NATO defense ministers have agreed to step up and provide further military support, including more air defense. NATO has mapped out existing capabilities across the alliance, and there are systems that can be made available to Ukraine. So expect new announcements on air defense capabilities for Ukraine soon. In addition to Patriots, there are other weapons that allies can provide, including SAM-Ts. And many allies who do not have available systems have pledged to provide financial support to purchase them for Ukraine.
Iranian Foreign Minister Hossein Amir-Abdollahian has said that Iran will respond at an immediate and maximum level if Israel acts against its interest. In an interview, the Iranian Foreign Minister said if Israel wants to do another adventurism and acts against the interest of Iran, then its next response will be immediate and will be at the maximum level. His comments follow reports of an Israeli strike on Iran early Friday. The Foreign Minister also said that Tehran was investigating an overnight attack on Iran, adding that so far a link to Israel had not been proven, as he downplayed the strike. Iranian media and officials described a small number of explosions, which they said resulted from air defenses hitting 3 drones over Isfahan in central Iran in the early hours on Friday. They referred to the incident as an attack by infiltrators rather than by Israel, obviating the need for retaliation. As the Israel-Hamas conflict continues, Hamas chief Ismail Haniyeh arrived in Istanbul late Friday for talks with Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan. A statement from Hamas said Erdogan and Haniyeh would discuss the conflict in Gaza, adding that the head of the group's political bureau was accompanied by a delegation. Middle East tensions are at a high after Israel's reported attack on Iran and Gaza, bracing for a new Israeli offensive. Erdogan insisted that he would continue to defend the Palestinian struggle and to be the voice of the oppressed Palestinian people. Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan was in Qatar on Wednesday and said he spent 3 hours with Haniyeh and his aides for a wide exchange of views, in particular about negotiations for a ceasefire. Now, North Korea conducted a cruise missile warhead test and test launch of its new anti-aircraft missile in the West Sea of Korea on Friday. North Korea had conducted a power test of a super large warhead new type anti-aircraft missile. North Korea's strategic cruise missile is believed to be designed to carry a nuclear warhead. South Korea, Japan and the United States, which often report large missile tests they detect from North Korea, made no mention of a flight. Now let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. Gunfire broke out at a park in Greenbelt, Maryland, where hundreds of high school students had gathered while skipping school. 5 students wounded in the incident. Police were searching for suspects. No motive behind the incident had been established so far. In Mexico, mothers protested in a unique way against the lack of government's action to find their missing children. The mothers of missing people gathered on Friday in central Mexico City to embroider handkerchiefs as a way to keep their loved ones in mind and make their plight visible. In 2023, 111,896 people were registered as missing in the country. Disappearances are largely a result of drug cartel violence. Rio de Janeiro's iconic Christ the Redeemer statue on Friday lit up green to mark Indigenous Peoples Day in Brazil for the first time. A dozen members of indigenous groups from across the country gathered at the feet of the statue to commemorate the occasion. Discarded clothes dumped in the Atacama Desert get a second life via several Chilean organizations. These projects aim to give the planet a break from overconsumption. Projects include transforming discarded clothes into tote bags and fashion pieces. Some 3,700 vulnerable children and adolescents assisted by the humanitarian agency works in the projects. Still to come on this edition of DD India Live. Campaigning underway for the second phase of Lok Sabha elections. Political parties gearing up to woo voters in their favour. Yuki Bambri Albano Olivetti reached men's doubles final in Munich Open 2024. And in IPL, Lucknow Super Giants register an 8-wicket win over Chennai Super Kings on Friday. We'll tell you more about the game.
Is left-wing extremism close to its end game now? And are Naxalites breathing their last breath?
It was a combined effort of so many militant, so many Naxalite guerrilla groups who tried to disrupt our election process.
We are used to listening this kind of things from people who are part of the urban network, but when it comes from very responsible people, it's very heart-wrenching for sure for all the men in uniform. It's reprehensible actually.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Some more stories. Now let's get you the latest on the world's largest democratic election in India. Now, the first phase of the voting for Lok Sabha elections were held in 21 states and union territories on April 19. Nearly 62% voter turnout was recorded across the states. Polling took place in 102 constituencies across 21 states and union territories in the first of the 7-phase elections. The Commission described the turnout as high, noting that voting remained largely peaceful. And campaigning underway for the second phase of the Lok Sabha elections. Political parties are gearing up to woo voters in their favour. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to visit Maharashtra and Bengaluru on Saturday, where he will be addressing multiple rallies. Senior BJP leader and Union Home Minister Amit Shah will hold public gatherings in Uttar Pradesh and Rajasthan on Saturday. And in order to garner support in the favour of their respective parties, all political parties holding rallies, roadshows to woo the voters. Congress leader Rahul Gandhi to hold rallies in Bihar's Bhagalpur and Uttar Pradesh's Amroha. Congress leader Priyanka Gandhi is likely to be attending election campaigns and programs in Kerala. Punjab Chief Minister Bhagwant Mann likely to launch party's campaign for the Lok Sabha elections and visit each Lok Sabha constituency for the next 3 days. And scrutiny of nominations for Phase 3 general elections will be held on Saturday. The third phase of voting will be held on May 7. This phase will encompass 94 constituencies spread across 12 states and union territories: Assam, Bihar, Chhattisgarh, Dadra and Nagar Haveli, Daman and Diu, Goa, Gujarat, Jammu and Kashmir, Karnataka, Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh and West Bengal will go to polls in Phase 3. Now let's take a look at other stories making news today. 1 dead and 7 went missing when a boat ferrying over 50 people capsized in Mahanadi River in Odisha. Odisha Chief Minister Naveen Patnaik expressed concern over the incident and announced an ex gratia of ₹4 lakh to the next kin of the deceased. Thrissur Puram, celebrated in the vibrant city of Thrissur, is a spectacle of cultural richness and religious devotion. The festival is known for its traditional Keralite cuisine, while attire and a series of rituals that start with the Vilambaram, signalling the beginning of these celebrations. The India Met Department has predicted hot, humid and uncomfortable weather conditions in isolated places over the districts of coastal Andhra Pradesh and Rayalaseema till April 23rd. Many parts of the state continue to reel under a scorching sun as dry south-westerly winds sing Andhra Pradesh with rise in mercury levels. Alright, sports updates now. India's Yuki Bhamri and his French partner Albano Olivetti have confirmed their place in the men's doubles finals of Munich Open on Friday. The Indo-French pair entered the final by defeating the Austrian pair of Lucas Meidler and Alexander Eller by a margin of 6-1, 6-7, 10-7. This victory will further strengthen Yuki's chance of qualifying for the Paris Olympics in doubles. Bhamri and Olivetti have been in fine form of late. Earlier in the first round, they defeated Sander Gilles and Joran Wiegand, who are the finalists of French Open and champions of the Monte Carlo Masters. ATP 250 Munich Open finals will take place on Sunday. IPL now. Lucknow Super Giants registered an 8-wicket win over Chennai Super Kings on Friday in the ongoing season of the Indian Premier League. Lucknow Super Giants skipper KL Rahul opted to bowl first against Chennai. A measured half-century from Ravindra Jadeja and a late cameo from MS Dhoni propelled Chennai to 176 for 6 in 20 overs. In reply, LG skipper KL Rahul led from the front as he produced a scintillating 82-run knock and was ably supported by opening partner Quinton de Kock, who added 54 runs. The host chased down the target of 177 with 6 deliveries to spare. Talking about today's game, Delhi Capitals will take on Sunrisers Hyderabad in 35th match of Indian Premier League at the Arun Jaitley Stadium in Delhi. Capitals have had a mixed season so far, but a couple of impressive wins against Lucknow Super Giants and Gujarat Titans have put them back in the mix with 3 wins and 4 defeats in 7 outings so far. Meanwhile, Sunrisers Hyderabad have set a different template altogether with 2 of the highest ever totals of 277 and 287, which will require a lot of heart and skill to counter. Captain Rishabh Pant will have to use his resources with extreme caution and guile on a Kotla track, which for a change will have a good bounce and carry. And the youngest player in the World Chess Championship Candidates Tournament, D. Gukesh, just 17 years of age, is in the lead with just 2 rounds left to decide the challenger to world champion Ding Lijian in a title match. Gukesh is on 7.5 points after 12 rounds along with Russian Ian Nepomniachtchi and American Hikaru Nakamura. Behind them is world number 2 Fabiano Caruana on 7 points. The others in the field are technically out of the race. Pragnananda on 6 points is slightly out of reach of the leaders as they approach the home stretch. If Gukesh wins, he will be the youngest player ever to challenge the world crown. Both Kasparov and Carlsen were 22 when they became world champions. In a groundbreaking initiative, the International Olympic Committee launched the Olympic AI agenda on Friday. The initiative was introduced during an interactive event held at Lee Valley Velo Park at Queen Elizabeth Olympic Park, home of the Olympic and Paralympic Games. The Olympic AI agenda aims to unlock AI's full potential to promote solidarity, further digitalization, improve sustainability, and reinforce the role of sport in society.
We also have to be very humble, not only about what we saw today, but also what the future will bring to us. There is one thing for sure, we will not be able to do this alone. We need, as you have again seen today, we need partners in the Olympic movement and beyond the Olympic movement to really exploit this potential of AI for the benefit of the athletes and for sport.
All right, football now. Aston Villa were the only English side to progress in European competition after a week of 4 results for Premier League teams. Bayer Leverkusen and Atalanta progressed in the Europa League's latest round of fixtures. DD India's Oli Barrett reports from London.
Well, for the English sides, West Ham did put up a good fight against one of the best sides in Europe, but they couldn't overcome Bayer Leverkusen. Liverpool less so. They never really looked like overturning that large deficit against Atalanta, and so they crash out in Jurgen Klopp's increasingly difficult final season in charge. What that means is that Aston Villa are the last English side remaining in European competition. They will play Olympiacos in the Europa Conference League semi-final, and they will fancy themselves to go on and win that tournament. With regards to the Europa League semi-finals and the Champions League semi-finals, it's the first time since 2015 that no English clubs have been in either of those games. So a very difficult week indeed for English clubs in European competition. The Europa League semis will see Marseille play at Atlanta, and Roma will take on Leverkusen. The first ties in those semi-finals due to take place on May the 2nd. And this week means that it will almost certainly be just 4 Champions League spots for English Premier League sides in the Champions League next season because of the coefficient that UEFA is working out to use these qualification places. And so that is makes for a very interesting Premier League run-in with just 4 spots at the top of the league now taking up those Champions League spots for next year. So potentially, although a difficult week for English sides in European competition for fans, it may just make that Premier League run-in even more exciting than it was already going to be. Oli Barrett in London, reporting for DD India.
Now, circus artists from Bucharest carried out a surprise performance at the Romanian capital's airport on Friday, featuring dancing shows and acrobatics. The performance was held to honor World Circus Day, which falls on Saturday. Over 80 artists from the Bucharest Metropolitan Circus performed in the arrivals terminal to the amazement of children and their parents. Well, that's all for this edition of DD India Live, but do let us know your thoughts on the news of the days. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Abhishek. From all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Live.